Hello, my name is Gus, but you can call me BATGUS, and we are here back with another commentary on the Batman the Animated Series episodes. This time we're gonna go to the second episode on the series that is Nothing to Fear, an episode that features one of my favorite villains, the Scarecrow, right? And probably one of the most iconic episodes of this animation. Usually, they're in the normal sequence of episodes of the series. There is actually one episode between the first one that we did on Leather Wings and this one, Nothing to Fear, that is called Christmas with the Joker. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of that episode. I don't think it belongs to the normal chronology. It doesn't really look like the second episode of a series. It actually looks like a Christmas special that has Batman and the Joker. And the real introduction of the Joker in this series comes, I think, in the next episode that we will comment, called The Last Laugh. That's the one I believe there is the best introduction to the Joker in this series. So I will skip that one, but we can watch and comment it in next Christmas, I guess, where there is a perfect date to talk about that episode, okay? But anyway, let's go to Nothing to Fear. I'm gonna do our countdown so you can watch along with me in your house, in your DVD, box set, Blu-ray, or maybe in any available streaming that you have Batman the Animated Series. And this is it. Let's go. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. So we're gonna have the Warner Bros. Logo. And our classic intro. I already mentioned it in the first commentary of the first episode on Leather Wings. We have the bank robbery, Batman showing up in this kind of a first night out, as I like to think. And it's a great introduction to the character. It's also very interesting and bold because we don't have the name of the animation showing up, although this is the intro of the series. There's no Batman the Animated Series name or logo being portrayed in this intro, which is very interesting, and I think it's a very clever choice because just by showing Batman on top of a building, it's enough to tell the audience, okay, this is Batman. Everybody knows who that is, right? So, and here we go. Nothing to Fear. Again, the painting, the art of the name of the episode in the beginning is very, very cool with the scarecrow figure, shadowy figure. And we're gonna have here another sight of Gotham City in the afternoon light with the sun, sunset, and a chopper with the gang of the scarecrow approaching a Gotham building where there is this charity event happening to get funds for the University of Gotham. And we meet this fella called Dr. Long and Summer Gleason, which is a reporter for the Gotham Globe. And she is, I think, the version of Vicky Vale in this universe, a version of that character that was portrayed recently, in the hit timeline of the 90s, where this show was broadcast recently in the Batman movie from Tim Burton in 1989. But she's never been a huge character in the series or even a love interest to Bruce Wayne. Anyway, they meet Bruce Wayne, both of these characters meet Bruce Wayne in the elevator, and it's very clear that Dr. Long doesn't really like Bruce because he says he met his father when he was alive, and he kind of scolds Bruce in the elevator, saying that he's just a playboy guy that doesn't really care to help the city with his money and his resources, right? And gives them very cold scolds that makes Bruce very sad and depressed and kind of thinking maybe he has a point. So this is where Bruce sees the helicopter with the Scarecrow arriving at the top of the building outside, and they are making a invasion in the ceiling of the university. Again, we have a security guard, just like the last episode. We have another security guard just relaxing and reading some comic books. This time is a Tiny Toons comic, and the ceiling explodes, and the gang of the Scarecrow is gonna be difficult to say this name all the time in a fast manner without making some errors. The Scarecrow enters the building, and we see this look for the character that is very not scary. It looks like a kind of a comical character, very skinny with and colorful. And this is an interesting thing because I think Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, the creators of the series, they didn't like this first visual for the Scarecrow. And you can see that in the next episodes, if you remember, they're gonna make some huge changes in his look, adding some stuff to his look to make him a little more scary, a little more creepy. And by the fourth season of this show, he will be very scary. His look is gonna be very interesting, but we're gonna get there. And now he uses his toxin of fear for the first time, which is a red smoke in this case. And he uses against the security guard that has a phobia for spiders or actually spiders, right? And just like me, because I also had this kind of phobia, and he sees his body being covered with with spiders, which is very creepy and scary. Then the Scarecrow and his gang enter the vault of the university to get a lot of money. It looks like a bank vault, right? There's so much money in this place that it's very... it looks like a bank vault, actually. And the thing is that the Scarecrow doesn't want to get the money, actually. He just wants to burn the money, which is something very fun and kind of a Joker-esque, if we remember the Dark Knight. But his idea is that he wants to take his revenge against the university for something that he will explain later regarding his background as a character. Then we have the first meeting of Batman and the Scarecrow. Batman is wearing a gas mask to be able to protect himself from the fear toxin, because that's what the Scarecrow tosses at him, a bomb with the toxin. And he presents himself to the Batman as the Scarecrow. So it's the first time these two characters are meeting each other in this universe. We have a fight with Batman and one of the Scarecrow goons, and then we have Scarecrow shooting a dart of the toxin, another form of the toxin that he has against Batman, and the dart hits him in the neck. So now Batman is affected by the toxin, which is going to be a big plot point in this episode. And Batman gets weak, and soon he will start to have hallucinations, and the Scarecrow is able to escape with his goons and set the whole vault on fire. And the interesting thing is that the first hallucination that the Batman has is to see his own father as a big head, a big hallucination of his head coming out of the fire and saying exactly the words that Dr. Long told him, that he's ashamed for the Wayne family and that he failed the family, he failed the legacy of the family, which sets up that Batman's, or Bruce Wayne, should I say, biggest fear is to be a failure for the legacy of the Waynes, right? It's a very deep plot point in this episode, and since we didn't have any focus on Bruce Wayne's background in the first episode, it's interesting to see this being portrayed here, regarding his trauma and all the things that make Batman who he is. Then the sprinkler system is activated, puts out the fire, and Batman comes out of the vault. The cops arrived. He says that they were attacked by the Scarecrow, and the cops don't understand what he means by that. and the other security guard confirms that there is a guy in the scarecrow suit. But Harvey Bullock arrives, and as usual, he is suspicious of the Batman regarding everything that happened, right? They had this little physical combat, Bullock and Batman pushing each other. And as usual, also, Commissioner Gordon arrives to set the record straight between Bullock and Batman, which gives Batman the chance to escape and vanishes in front of their eyes without them seeing. The usual gimmick of the Batman disappearing when people are not paying attention to him anyway. Then we go to Scarecrow's hiding place, which is in Axis Chemicals, I believe. No, not Axis Chemicals, but Axis Chemicals is mentioned in this episode, but it's not the Axis Chemicals from Batman 89. It's another industrial factory where he will explain to his goons that his background and why he wants to have revenge against the university, because he used to work at the university, and he had an obsession with fear, and his studies were all based on fear and how fear can affect humans. So he started to do these experiments with real people, using his toxin to create these fears on people and see how they react. And you can see he doing these experiments with the people in different rooms in the lab, and that's why he was expelled from the university for this very abusive act of against humans, right? This criminal actions. That's why he wants revenge back at the university, because he was actually expelled or fired from the place. So we go back to Batman in the Batcave. He's doing some analysis on the tissue that he ripped from the Scarecrow suit, and he's still having hallucinations and shaking, and he sees a news report on the TV with Summer Gleason saying that the Batman failed to capture the goons or the criminals that invaded or broke into the university. So, and that messes with him, because the word fail is a big word of fear for Bruce Wayne, right? Then we have here Alfred arrives at the scene, and they talk about the Scarecrow, and Bruce Wayne explains that he's having this very terrible hallucinations with his father telling him how embarrassed he is for Bruce's actions and who he is. And Alfred does what Alfred always does, that is to be the father figure that Bruce doesn't have anymore, and basically comforts him by saying that this is not true, this is nonsense, and Thomas Wayne would never be embarrassed of him in real life, because he is not embarrassed of him in real life. In fact, he's proud of Bruce, and that's a great, it helps Bruce Wayne a lot in this moment. And we go back to the university again, another event for charity, for the university to get funds, and the whole thing is interrupted by the gas of the Scarecrow. And once again, he and his goons break into the events to get Dr. Long, right? And we have a scene where he will use the toxin against Dr. Long, and the doctor is an old guy, right? So he will see his biggest fear, that is, he will see his own hands as skeleton hands, which is very, very fun, and I think is a great example of fear, right? The fear of death. And And then Batman arrives at the scene and he finds mayhem because all the people in the event are having hallucinations and get the fear toxin running through their veins, and they are basically behaving like maniacs. And then we have this great scene where they start to attack the Batman in group, which is something that kind of happens in Batman Begins, where this group of people basically mounts on top of him and to get him, and Batman is forced to fight them back, although they are basically acting in this manner because of the toxin, right? Anyway, and then Batman is able to escape them, and we have another Zeppelin transportation in the animation in this episode, because the way Scarecrow uses to escape is using one of the Zeppelins as a transport, and Batman he is able to grab a rope that is hanging from the Zeppelin. Actually, is a cable that was used to transport the toxin into the building. The event of the charity was happening, and Scarecrow is inside the Zeppelin cabin of. He's celebrating his crime, but then they see Batman outside climbing the cable of the Zeppelin and trying to get into the transportation. So now Batman is above the transportation. We're gonna have one of the goons try to hit him with the machine guns. This is something funny about the TV show, the Batman the Animated Series, because no other TV show, at least animated TV show, used real weapons in their stories, right? Every time we see a gun or a machine gun, it always fired this kind of laser things. Even in stories that were not, or should I say animations that were not science fiction, it was always this blue-green blasts of energy. It was never real bullets. But in this case, in this animation, it is real bullets. You can see that it is close to the reality, right? Of for the first time in a TV show, we have real guns and real bullets. And the Zeppelin crashes into a building during the fights, Batman and the Goon. And this is fun because the Goon falls from the Zeppelin, but Batman isn't able to grab him before he actually falls. And he actually falls from a huge height in the facade of a building, and he crashes into the entrance of the building that has this kind of ceiling that is a ceiling that kind of softens his fall, but is very unrealistic in my opinion. And then we have the iconic scene where Batman is faced again with the hallucination of his father, saying that he's embarrassment, and his father becomes this huge sight on the sky and then becomes a skeleton, right? So fun, so great, the scene. And he says the famous lines. Batman says, "I am not an embarrassment. I am the night. I am vengeance. I am the Batman," which is probably one of the most iconic scenes and lines of this animation. And yes, something to never be forgotten. Then Batman is able to enter the Zeppelin. We have a fight between him and the other goon of the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow tries to shoot a dart against Batman, another dart, but he actually hits his own goon, and the goon feels the fear of being imprisoned. So he sees himself inside this jail, right? This prison cell jail, with the bars getting close around him and entrapping him inside this place. And is a great Another great example of a fear. Then the Scarecrow is able to escape the Zeppelin. He actually uses this kind of escape route that is funny, which is a kind of a mini airplane that detaches itself from the Zeppelin and flies away. And Batman is able to get Dr. Long, that was being kept as hostage inside the Zeppelin, and jumps with the guy from the Zeppelin that crashes into a building and explodes. So another big explosion in this series, which is something that is very recurrent. We will always have these big, huge explosions in the show. And I love that because this show is very action-driven, right? And it has many interesting and creative action scenes during the episodes. And we will talk about them in the next commentaries. Now he is examining some evidences in the computer of the Batmobile, and he connects some dots and discovers that there is one Jonathan Crane that could be related to the attacks in the university, and he was a specialist in fears and phobias. So Batman knows that this is the guy that he needs to find. And Scarecrow is back at his hideout place, and he's frustrated for having failed in take his revenge. So Batman, in a very interesting way, uses the same fear toxin against the Scarecrow. So uses makes Scarecrow has his own medicine, or a taste of his own medicine, right? And he releases this toxin into the air by some tanks that are around. Everything without the Scarecrow noticing, using the shadows to hide. And the Scarecrow, he smells the toxin and he starts to see his biggest fear, that is bats. Nothing could be more appropriate for the ending of this episode than to make the Scarecrow face his own fear, that is bats. And not only that, but the Batman becomes this huge monster for him as an hallucination, right? And this is also very iconic in my opinion. It was also used in Batman Begins, when Batman became a monster in the visions of the Scarecrow after he was affected by the toxin, if you remember. A great scene, by the way. And then the Scarecrow is taken to Commissioner Gordon's office and hangs on the ventilator for him to arrest him. And then we have the ending of the episode that is also great and shows Bruce Wayne at the grave of his parents, just paying his homage and putting a flower into the ground. And then he moves away from the grave, and the shadow on the grass is of Batman, not Bruce Wayne, right? Such a great episode and very well crafted animation. Anyway, I love this animation. This was the second episode. Thank you so much if you watched so far. And if you liked this video, if you are liking this content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like in this video. See you in the next episode commentary, and bye-bye.